Why are so many pros saying that next season's FNCS is cancelled? We are not going to have a major event for over 10 weeks into the new season. Also, what is going on with these insane new duos? Have Bugha and Mero just split? Did Acorn and Edgy just split? Why did Veno and ThomasHD just absolutely dominate the EU tournaments while also saying they're not an official team? I'm going to cover everything that's going on, what the official new duos are, and which ones are fake. Let's just jump into it. Why are so many pros saying there is going to be no FNCS next season? Or if there is, it's going to be over 10 weeks into the season. There's a couple of reasons. The main one being the timing. If you guys didn't know, we have the FNCS Invitational on November 11th and 12th. That is a $1 million LAN Invitational where every single pro invited, the top 100 players in the world, have to be in North Carolina, United States, ready to play a massive LAN event. The first official LAN event Epic has ran since the World Cup. We've had some other LAN events ran by other companies, but this is Fortnite's actual first LAN event since the World Cup. It's a pretty big deal. And we have the new season, Chapter 3, Season 4, taking place this Sunday on the 18th. That leaves less than 8 weeks between those two tournaments to get preseason out of the way, get the meta tested with cash cups, then run an FNCS to finish with enough time for all those pros to then travel around the world. It's a pretty tight timeline. And also, you've got to remember, a lot of pros have been pointing to the fact that the top 50 teams have already been invited. If we were going to have another FNCS this season before the Invitational, would you not give some of those spots from the players who do well to the Invitational? Imagine a crazy new team pops off, they win like EU, FNCS, and somehow they weren't invited to the Invitational, and now we don't even get to see them play a couple weeks later. I will point out though, Epic is just being logical if we do have an FNCS between this, because right now, if you want to try to get a visa or a passport to move to another country or go there to visit, it is a very, very hard process. From someone who's just spent 9 months getting their visa to come to the United States, it's not easy. Let's say they ran the event, it finishes 2 weeks before the Invitational, and they invite a team. If they don't have visa or passport or travel already organized, they can't go. So I don't know if that's the better reason, but I do think the timing scares me. Let's look at the timing logically. Epic always runs preseasons. As much as we all hate it, they've said they like preseasons, they're gonna run another preseason. If they do, that's already probably 2 weeks into the new season. So we're 2 weeks in now. Let's say they then run cash cups maybe 2 weeks after that. Give people 2 weeks to get their points. That's 4 weeks into the season. If they then start FNCS 1 week after that, that's 5 weeks in. That means they have to run an FNCS and have it finish within 2 to 3 weeks, and then pros have to instantly fly out and go to the Invitational. You can see why pros are a little bit worried. Epic could still do it. Potentially, they might change things up. Maybe we have no preseason. Maybe there's only like 1 week of cash cups and it's contender, and then in week 3, you have to get champs for FNCS. That leaves 4 weeks to run FNCS and then 1 week break before the Invitational. So you can see how it's possible, but a lot of pros are doubting. With how Fortnite has been organizing the schedule for seasons, I mean, this season was an absolute joke, it's made a lot of pros worried. So I don't know, let me know in the comments down below. Do you think there is going to be an FNCS before the Invitational, or do you think Epic is going to wait until after the Invitational? I'm a little bit scared. If Epic has 8 to 10 weeks without a major tournament, and that major tournament, while it's going to be incredibly exciting, the Invitational is going to be amazing, you guys can't play in it. Those of you guys who mostly follow competitive because you're playing and you want to be involved, you're going to be waiting 10 weeks for a major event. It doesn't have to be an FNCS though. Maybe we see Epic run something like the Autumn Royale. Maybe we get something crazy like Winter Royale, which doesn't take as long to run, but would still feel like a crazy hyped event. I don't know what Epic has up their sleeve. I just really, really hope they have something. So what is going on with these insane new teams? We've just had EU won by Veno and ThomasHD, and we've had NA East won by Kwah and Acorn, and both these teams aren't official teams. They're apparently not proper teams. They're just people playing with other teammates for a bit of fun. But this has now sparked a big discussion. Are they going to be proper teams? Are these players now going to drop their teammates to play with other teammates because they're performing better? We even have people like Bugha and Mero being dragged in this conversation because Bugha was playing in today's Cash Cup with threats. Meanwhile, Mero was playing with ages. So the reason I want to talk about this is I want to go through some of these big duos and talk about which ones I think are real and which ones I think are fake. Who is just playing with a friend for a bit of fun and who is actually likely to snake their duo and start a new duo, because some of these new teams, whether they started because they were a joke or not, they're ridiculous. The first big team we have to talk about, of course, is Veno and ThomasHD. If you've been watching the Cash Cups over the last couple days, you know why. This team already looked absolutely ridiculous on paper. They came out and got first place on the EU Opens on 222 points. But a lot of people thought, hey, Veno, ThomasHD, two fraggers, two of the best fighters in the world. Of course, they're going to dominate Opens, set lobbies. They have no IGL. They're going to struggle. Wrong. In the last Duo Cash Cup finals of the season, Veno and ThomasHD came out in first, so back-to-back first in the last two tournaments of the season on 217 points. Look at this match history. 4 Elim 3rd, 3 Elim 8th, 3 Elim 9th, 6 Elim 5th, 7 Elim 2nd, and 7 Elim 2nd. That is an average elims of 5 and an average placement of top 5. They absolutely dominated the lobby. But are they an actual new team? Why would Veno split up with Queasy? Why would Thomas split up with Tripern? The reason is a lot of these EU pros started doing what's called a roulette for the last Cash Cup. They basically all put their names on a board. They spun that board. The two duos who played together, that was your team. You picked a player, that's it. You had no control over who you were playing with. It was pure luck. So a lot of the new teams you're seeing running around, like Pink playing with a different teammate, Queasy, Tayson's been playing a bunch of Cash Cups with Yomzo, they are not actual real teams. And Veno and Thomas aren't meant to be a real team either. But what I want to talk about is, will they become a real team? How dominant of a performance do you have to think, hey, maybe I should split with my old duo mate? And I don't want to disrespect Queasy or Tripern whatsoever. They are both phenomenal players, but you can't argue that Veno and ThomasHD over the last couple of days have looked absolutely disgusting. I will say though, on that same note, obviously they've done very, very well in a Cash Cup, which is the last Cash Cup of the season, when most people aren't taking it as seriously, in a meta that's about to change against not proper teams. They did beat Kami and Seti, a real team. They beat Mustache and Malabuka, a real team. So there were still people playing it and taking it seriously, but at the same time, that was a pretty crazy performance, and it's kicked off with a whole bunch of beef on the timeline. We now have people even questioning whether Aqua was carried to his FNCS win by Veno. You guys know me, I don't like to get myself in a drama like that. I'm not going to disrespect the GOAT like that, Aqua. He is absolutely insane. I do not think Veno carried Aqua, but you can see how what was supposed to be a little bit of fun of people playing with a new duo mate has actually turned out now in a fair bit of drama. Everyone was tagging Queasy and Tripern in the tweets of Veno and ThomasHD dominating. Everyone making jokes they're going to get dropped, and I don't really actually have the answer for you. I don't know whether Veno and ThomasHD might consider dropping their teammates to play together after such a dominant performance. I will say again, this was a Cash Cup. This is not FNCS by any means. It is a different level entirely, but it's made that question of a lot of people asking. I wanted to address it, and it wasn't just EU. NA East is under the same spots right now as well. NA East Cash Cup was also won by another not real team. I've talked about this in a previous video, but basically Acorn was playing with Kwah for a bit of fun. He wasn't actually dropping Edgy, but they've been performing insanely well, to the point where Edgy then ended up DMing Acorn saying, yo, we still playing right, or you going with Kwah? And then Acorn turned around and said, we've been playing crazy lately. I think I'm just going to play with him TBH. I'm not going to Invitational either. I don't think there's a reason to if I'm just doing with Kwah, you know? And that was what got me a little bit. Okay, Edgy is a very, very well-known troll in the community. Me and Edgy always have a bunch of fake beef because it's a bunch of fun. He likes trolling people, but will Kwah actually play with Acorn instead of Edgy? They've been performing insanely well. I was honestly not going to be surprised if Edgy got dropped just because of how well Acorn and Kwah have been playing. I'm not disrespecting Edgy again, all a bit of fun. They've been playing well together. But when he added the part that Acorn doesn't want to go to the Invitational, I don't think there's a reason to if I'm just doing with Kwah. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me. That sounds like a troll. Why would Acorn at least not take the chance to play with Edgy at the Invitational when they're a duo that a lot of people think could place very, very highly and potentially win it? Just because Acorn's doing better with Kwah doesn't mean he'd also do really, really well with Edgy. So that part has me a little bit confused, and a lot of people saw through this as well. We had Queasy respond saying 100% troll, you do this every week. Edgy said, I usually troll, yeah, this is actually real though, like I don't get it. And then Acorn replying, bro, why you keep tweeting these trolls? And then Edgy responded, so we back then. So It does look like a troll, but it goes to prove my point, like I just talked about with the EU teams. Even a team like Acorn and Kwah, who are winning so many tournaments and performing so highly, Acorn is still going to play with Edgy. So a lot of these pros aren't taking these end of season cash cups that seriously. Even if they're doing really well, they still think, hey, it's not FNCS, no one's taking it seriously, I'm still gonna play with my duo. It's just so interesting to me. I understand it. This is just what happens when Fortnite puts on a 4-week off season. Players get bored, they start doing stupid stuff, but I didn't think we'd start seeing these god duos form who dominate everyone and then don't even play together next season. Like, there's just no way some of these teams aren't gonna become real teams. I just don't even know what to think anymore. I will say on NA East, Kwah and Acorn didn't completely dominate the way that Veno and ThomasHD did. Kwah and Acorn only won by 1 single point over Dukes and Clicks. And I feel bad for Clicks because he said specifically on stream, Dukes was going to mess around and have fun and play with a random duo. But Clicks said, no, I want to focus up. I want to win the last cash cup of the season. And they almost did. The last game was so insanely exciting. It came down to Dukes and Clicks winning it with a 3 elim first in the very last game. But unfortunately for them, Kwah and Acorn pulled off a 4 elim third, which ended up winning the tournament by 1 point. It was an insanely close finish. It felt a little bit reminiscent of the most recent FNCS. We also had other big teams up there, like Bugha and Threats coming in third. And Bugha and Threats have been playing a lot of cash cups together and doing insanely well. And they're another team that a lot of you guys have been asking me about. Are they an official team? Is Bugha and Mero going to split up? And I've always been saying Bugha and Mero have not split up. Mero just doesn't want to play the cash cups. He said so on Twitter, and that's why Bugha's playing with Threats. But Mero played with Ages, and while they didn't do as well as Bugha and Threats, they came in 11th. If Mero didn't want to play the cash cups, that's fine. I get that. He's taking a bit of time to himself. He's taking a break. But why is Mero playing with Ages and Bugha's playing with Threats, again doing incredibly well? Are they actually going to split up? I don't think so, and I'm sorry that I'm probably raising more questions than answers, but I did want to leave it with this. If you see an insane new duo playing together and they said they're still sticking with their old duo, that doesn't necessarily mean they are. There is a very good chance they still might snake coming into the new season. But also, if you see an insane new duo playing together, don't just assume because they're doing well, they are going to snake their old duo. We don't know what these pros are going to do. We've seen a lot of crazy snakenings in the past, especially with trios. In duos, it's been a lot more tame. It's been a lot more chill. We haven't seen those crazy, like 9 different teams splitting up and reforming. But I do think this end of season has been a very interesting showing into how pros work, and I think a lot of them potentially use the, oh yeah man, I'm just playing with someone for a bit of fun because, you know, it's off season, and then if they do well, it's kind of like, man, maybe, I don't know. The biggest problem is though, on top of all of this, we have the Invitational coming up, and all of these guys are locked into playing the Invitational together. So to split up now, going into a new season that might not even have an FNCS, completely ruining the vibes with your teammate to then go play in a $1 million LAN event. You see why it's just so confusing right now, and a lot of pros don't know what they're doing, and why I don't know what they're doing. All I know is Epic, please never do a 1 month off season ever again. It has just led to the most confusing, like, I want to play the tournament because I want to make money, but I also don't want to split with my duo as I go into a giant event. But I want to not play with them because I don't want to burn out and get bored of playing with them, but I want to build chemistry. You see what I mean? It's weird. It's all a little bit weird, but I wanted to try to do my best to cover what is going on. You guys know the deal. If you made it this far, you clearly liked the video, chuck a like on it. If you haven't already subscribed, click the red button down below. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one.